Exactly 9 o'clock.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Michael Harrington. Former President Trump was in the Keystone State Saturday urging voters to cast their ballots for Republicans.
Biden and the far-left lunatics are waging war on Pennsylvania energy, crushing Pennsylvania jobs, gutting Pennsylvania communities, and strangling Pennsylvania families with soaring prices like you've never seen before.
Mr. Trump has 2 more rallies scheduled around the country today, with Election Day less than 48 hours off. Meanwhile, Republicans seem to be gaining momentum. Robert Cahaley, chief pollster for the Trafalgar Group, says he's not surprised by the current GOP surge.
As this gap closes, people who are on the fence, and there's a lot of people, believe it or not, who just kind of want to be on the side of what's going to happen, that win psychology is taking over. And so undecided and people that were third-party candidates that end up wanting to have a say-so are all breaking toward the Republicans in these races.
Cahaley spoke to the Salem Radio Network. Residents in southeastern Oklahoma and northeastern Texas beginning to assess damage and working to recover after tornadoes tore through the region and killed at least 2 people last week. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt toured the town of Idabel yesterday, where buildings were flattened. A 90-year-old man was killed in nearby Pickens. The storm also produced heavy hail from Dallas to northwestern Arkansas. Ukrainian authorities say Russian forces are stepping up their attacks on a fiercely contested region of eastern Ukraine. They say the attacks are worsening the already tough conditions for residents and the defending army, following Moscow's illegal annexation and declaration of martial law in Donetsk province. The region's Ukrainian governor says the strikes have almost completely destroyed the power plants that serve the city of Bakhmut and the nearby town of Soledar, and those attacks are continuing this weekend. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You take the time to really get to know your body, you find that the root causes of its aches and pains are usually simple. The older we get, the more exercise we undertake, and the more injuries we sustain, the more inflammation our bodies suffer from. It's so simple. And my answer to that pain is Relief Factor, which I discovered years ago and take every single day to great effect. It helps the body to fight off inflammation, and I've never found anything that worked better in my life. I can't recommend it enough. 70% of the more than 500,000 people who have tried Relief Factor end up ordering more. That's because it works for them the way it works for me. Isn't it time for you to get out of pain? Your first step to becoming pain-free should be to order the 3-week quick start for the discounted price of only $19.95. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF to find out more about this offer. Feel the difference. ReliefFactor.com.
Australia's central bank has boosted its benchmark interest rate for a 7th consecutive month to a 9-year high now of 2.85.
The Reserve Bank of Australia has decided on a second consecutive increase of a 0.25 percentage point in the cash rate at its latest monthly board meeting. That's after 4 consecutive half percentage point hikes. Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe says, quote, inflation in Australia is too high, and his board expects to increase interest rates further over the period ahead.
Correspondent Jeremy House. A small passenger plane crashed this morning into Lake Victoria on approach to an airport in Tanzania, and regional authorities say at least 3 people are dead. 26 of the 43 people on board the precision airplane from the coastal city of Dar es Salaam were rescued and taken to a hospital. The plane was headed to Bukoba Airport. News reports show it mostly submerged in the lake. News and analysis at townhall.com. The Houston Astros are World Series champs after beating Philadelphia.
Yordan Alvarez crushed a 6th-inning 3-run homer that traveled 450 feet as the Astros beat the Phillies in Game 6 of the World Series 4-1 to claim the franchise's 2nd World Championship. Astros manager Dusty Baker.
These guys, they know how to win. They come to play. No alibis, no excuses. You can come in our clubhouse. You can't tell the next day if we lost or if we won.
Framber Valdez earned the win by allowing 1 run over 6 innings, while Jeremy Pena collected 2 hits and was named Series MVP. Adam Spillane, Houston.
Today is Sunday, November the 6th. It's the 310th day of 2022. There are just 55 days left in the old year. On this date in history, 1984, President Ronald Reagan won re-election by a landslide over former Vice President Walter Mondale, the Democratic challenger. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This Atmos weather report is being brought to you by Summit Technology Group. Summit Technology Group provides advanced technical solutions to the ever-evolving broadcast industry. More information is available online at summittechgroup.com.
Your area conditions, currently 36 degrees in Rome. Here is your WKAL 1450 AM 103.3 FM Utica Rome Metro weather forecast for Monday the 31st day of October. I'm meteorologist Charles Dixon. Mostly cloudy in Rome, and good morning to listeners in Oneida, where it is currently mostly cloudy and 40 degrees. Getting down to 36 overnight tonight, Tuesday's high will be in the low 60s. Variably cloudy with a shower. Temperatures in the low 60s on Wednesday. Mostly sunny and mild, mostly sunny and warm. I'm meteorologist Charles Dixon on 1450 AM 103.3 FM. WKAL, more stimulating talk radio.
This is Coach Big C, and you're listening to the Mohawk Valley Sportswatch on WKAL 1450. Who does everybody have in the top 4 for college football in the playoff? Welcome to the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch. Thanks for making us part of your Sunday morning. It's good to be back in here behind the mic. It's been a couple weeks. Got the crew in here today. Pags, I believe, as Statman said, is on a book signing.
Yep, book signing.
But we got Cody in here. We got Coach Medicis. We got the Statman in here. Should be a fun show. As the Statman would say, we're guest heavy today. Mm-hmm. We got Holland Patton head football coach Brian Briggs here in just a little bit. How about Holland Patton coming off a win yesterday against Adirondack? The first time they played, it was 46-0. They lost, and they came back yesterday, and they won 25-20. We'll set up a rematch with General Brown for the Class C championship. And then right after that, at the bottom of the hour, we'll talk to former Roman, teammate of mine, Joe Corley, the head coach at West Genny. West Genny had a big win as well as they punched their ticket to the Section 3 championship. So we'll talk to Joe at the bottom of the hour. And then the second hour, we'll talk to Scott Petoniak. We'll talk a little Syracuse football. Syracuse has now lost 3 in a row.
Shocker.
They play another one next week. They'll get Florida State at home. It's a night game. And we'll talk a little Bills with Scott as well. The Bills will play today against the Jets. So we got it all for you here this morning. You want to give us a call, 315-337-9525. Give us your top 4, and we'll start with a little college football. Well, the podcast should be fun this week, Nick, because I think you can throw these teams just about anywhere. And what a day yesterday in college football it was. All the talk about Brian Kelly going to LSU. I said I gave him a lot of credit because he went, not only did he leave Notre Dame, but he went to arguably the toughest conference in college football. And he might have had probably the win in college football next to the Tennessee over Bama and, of course, the Georgia game last night. Now everybody's saying if Brian Kelly and LSU wins out,
got a shot.
Is a 2-loss LSU in the playoff? I guess we'll have to find out. But what a win for him.
Yeah, that was a big win for him. I mean, to go for 2 and make that decision, that's a heck of a call right there. It's a gutsy call, and it's a big-time program win.
Yeah, it absolutely was, and Statman's having an in-depth conversation, I believe, with Coach Briggs here. So we're going to get right to him here as soon as he gives me the thumbs up, and he's going to give me that, and we'll bring Coach on. Hey, Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good. Just trying to get my voice back.
What a win, Coach. I got to be honest with you. I was breaking down your season, been following you as I always do, and I was pulling for you guys, but I said, geez, I think Adirondacks just got too much. And then I'm getting a play-by-play. I said, holy cow, they won the game.
Yeah, I think we shocked the world yesterday. But you know what? Us as a coaching staff, we believed in our kids. We put I give a shout out to Tom Ramos, one of our defensive analysts, just came up with a new game plan, and And it worked. You know, the kids believed in it. It worked, and we stuck with it.
So, Coach, talk to us a little bit about the first time you guys played, because the first time you guys played, I think it was 46-0, and then you guys come back yesterday and it was 25-20. What was the difference between the two games?
Well, I think, you know, our homecoming game when they did beat us 46-0, we got embarrassed up there. You know, we do have, 18, 19 seniors on the team, and 40 kids on the roster. And we got them to believe that, hey, you know what, we can win this ball game. They're not a better football team than we are. Yeah, they're very physical, but we can be physical too at times. So we just had to get after the ball, and we did.
And, Coach, you guys started off sectional play. I thought it was a really good Bishop-Ludden team that you guys beat 18-14, and now it's going to set up a General Brown had a good one against Casanova yesterday as well. Yeah,
that was a great game. You know, General Brown's a well-coached team. That's what we faced back in 2018 when we won the sectional finals. And, so it's going to be another game with them.
So, Coach, you know about getting back to the Dome, and as you were just saying, you've been there before. What's the difference between this team and that prior team that went all the way to the finals?
You know what? Like, I think that some of the differences is, like the 2018 team, they did some different things like team bonding stuff, and but we're trying to copy all that this week. We're trying to do the same type of stuff, like a pep rally. We're going to do like a meet and greet at the local Stewart's Market, and but we're going to kind of do the same things. But difference wise, maybe there's a couple bigger linemen on that 2018 team with Orlando Cross, but this team here, these guys are all hard. They just don't give up.
And, Coach, you guys got off to such a great start in Class C, which I always say is one of the tougher conferences in Section 3. You guys got off to a 7-0 start. Take us through that first part of the season.
The kids are amped up, with our off-season workouts, 7-on-7s that we did. Our kids are ready to roll. And, I think definitely the Class C 2 division, our side with General Brown and Adirondack, definitely the tougher division out of the two. So we are off to a great start, and then we kind of caught up with General Brown and then Adirondack, and we had a 2-game slide there. So, and now we're bouncing back with a 2-game win streak.
And, Coach, you mentioned the amount of seniors that you do have. Talk to us about some of the leaders on that team and just how well they've matured throughout the season.
Yeah, Jordan Koenig, is one of our seniors, running back, linebacker. The kid's all heart. He's just, a lot of talent, speed, strength. One of the top wrestlers in the state. Just a tough kid, and so his leadership helps out. John Zielinski, another one. A dual threat quarterback. He's a running back for us last year. We had some injuries at quarterback. We put him in at quarterback, and he's doing very well. With John's leadership skills, it definitely helps out the team. Nick DeForest is another one. Big 6'2" tight end for us. Also defensive end. He's going to look, the few of these guys are going to look on to play some college football, but, he's just a great kid. And then Alex McLaughlin, he's been playing with a hurt knee the whole season, and he's our offensive center. He's just a tough kid, and their leadership really helps out with the coaching staff, with the players, and just getting everybody all pumped up, ready to play.
And, Coach, you mentioned it with General Brown. I mean, the history and the tradition. I mean, they've been one of the powers for a long time, and you know them well. What's your team have to do this time to try to turn it around, just like you guys did against Adirondack here?
Well, I think, first of all, is believing in each other. I think, our kids really believed in the game plan we came up with for Adirondack, and we're going to have to do the same thing against General Brown, come up with a whole new game plan, come up with something, have the kids believe in it, and, we're meeting with the coaching staff tomorrow before practice, and we're going to come up with another game plan and go that route.
Well, Coach, I'm happy for you. I love following you guys in the program, and I know you guys will have a game plan ready to go. And I wish you nothing but the best. And bring home that sectional title. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks, Coach. It's going to be a battle. We're looking forward to it.
Give him a hell, Coach. Best of luck to you. Thank you.
Bye.
Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's as he said, I mean, you lose 46-0 the first time, and you come back and it's 25-20. I mean, that's a big flip. I mean, you don't see that in high school football. I mean, you don't see that in college, but let alone high school. I mean, they had to play General Brown and Adirondack back to back.
Yeah.
Back-to-back weeks. And Casanova, Kaz, gave General Brown all they could handle yesterday. General Brown beat him, but that'll be a good game. And listen, hats off to Coach Briggs because he's got a good coaching staff there that's been there, a long time. And when you say your coach puts a game plan together and your kids can go out and execute it, it's awesome. And that's a big, big win for the program. So thanks a lot, Coach. It was last minute. I reached out to him late last night, and he responded. So best of luck to Holland Patton, and hopefully we'll do it again next week with him. But let's get back to some college football. Let me run through some of the top 25 scores. There were some great games yesterday. We'll talk about the Syracuse one in a little bit. They fall to Pitt 19-9. Georgia beats Tennessee 27-13. Game really wasn't as close as that score says. Georgia dominated that game. Ohio State was in a war for most of that game against Northwestern, 40-mile-an-hour winds. We'll talk about the Buckeyes in a little bit. I'm sure C-Bus, if he's listening, is going to give me a call because I'm going to make a statement on Ohio State. And then we got the podcast this week, so we'll see. Yes. I know he's going to be all over me. Notre Dame beats Clemson 35-14. That probably puts Clemson out of it. Michigan had a really good second half. They outscored Rutgers in the second half 38-0, but they win 52-17. LSU, my wife and I were at the casino at the sportsbook room watching the game, and when they tied it up, I said, kick it, go to another overtime. You're at home.
I was going to say, you're at home.
Kick it. But great call by Brian Kelly, but they win 32-31. That pretty much will put Alabama, I think, unless LSU loses, but they got the head-to-head, out of the SEC championship. TCU comes from behind again, 34-24 over Texas Tech. Oregon, I think, is one of the hottest teams in the country right now. I don't know if anybody wants to play them, but they beat Colorado 49-10. USC, they just keep finding ways to win. I think they're kind of playing like they're a little bored.
Yeah. I think so.
But their schedule will heat up here. They'll get Notre Dame and more than likely Oregon.
Plus UCLA,
so it doesn't get any easier. Speaking of Oklahoma, they beat Arizona State 50-36. Texas in a really good game against Kansas State. Kansas State was driving in the fourth quarter. They turned it over. Texas wins 34-27, which will set up next week. The Horned Frogs will come in to Austin and play Texas. Utah 45-20 over Arizona. Penn State 45-14. And this is the one I can't understand. Michigan State down 8 players, goes in and beats Big Ten Bielema 23-15.
There's no words.
I don't get it.
Yeah. I guess
that's a bad loss for Illinois.
That's a out of top 25 loss right there.
And I was all excited because I said Michigan, before they play Ohio State's going to get another ranked team.
Yep.
And then Ohio State.
Yep.
But here's the lousy thing about the Big Ten. Let's just say Michigan beats Ohio State, which I'm saying if. They're going to have to play Illinois again.
Yeah.
Unless Illinois drops one. But we'll see. But that was a horrible, horrible loss for Brett Bielema. North Carolina beats Virginia 31-28. That game cost me money because I had North Carolina -7. They got all the way down to the 1-yard line. They let the clock run out.
Yeah.
Just turn around and hand it off and score a touchdown and cover the line for me. Come on, Mac Brown. Oklahoma State, the wheels fell off Gundy again. Not truly would say I'm shocked by that. Every year, I feel like we talk about them every year.
Before.
But Kansas 37-16. Hats off to Lance Leipold, the coach. Kansas is going bowling for the first time in a while. Tulane. How about Tulane?
Yeah. How about that?
27-13 over Tulsa. Right now, it looks like they're going to be the non-Power 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
To sneak in. I don't know what's happened to Wake Forest, but I got to say this. I'm always on Dave Clawson's side. They have looked bad the last 2 weeks.
Since halftime of the Louisville game.
Yep, they have not looked the same, and Sam Hartman has not looked the same. He's played back-to-back really bad games in this one. So I don't know what's happened up there, but they fall 30-21. UCF 35-28 winners in the Patriot League. Colgate, they fall to Lafayette yesterday, 21-16. I don't know. Colgate hasn't played too well, Statman.
No.
They haven't played too well. I thought they would have been a lot better this year. Tough non-conference schedule as they always do. I thought it would have been Colgate, Fordham, and Holy Cross competing, but it looks like they'll have to wait another year. Fordham, they beat Bucknell 59-17. Tim DeMorat threw another 5-touchdown game for Fordham. St. Francis beat Georgetown 38-24, and Holy Cross clinched the Patriot League championship. They beat Lehigh 42-14. And then Utica University, they moved to 8-1. with a big 65-16 win over Alfred. They'll finish up next week at St. John's, and then hopefully maybe they get it at large into the playoffs. So really, really good year for Coach Foz. So, guys, let's go back to this. Let's talk a little bit of Syracuse here before we get to the bottom of the hour. We'll come back to it, I'm sure. But coming back down to reality, guys, they've dropped 3 in a row. We said that those 5-6 games down the stretch, they could easily lose all of them. They haven't looked too great. But my question is this, and you guys, I wasn't even watching a game, I got to say. I was watching a different game. But you have one of the best backs in the country. He's looked average. He hasn't looked good at all this year.
The best quote I heard was Sean McDonough a couple games ago. He said, Tucker got the ball, and he goes, Sean Tucker with the carry out of witness protection. and that's kind of how it's been. You know, you got a guy that you're promoting for the Heisman, and you give him 9 carries. You give him 10 carries.
He had 10 carries for 19 yards.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Syracuse had 25 yards rushing.
Yeah.
The Dino Babers effect.
Well, it goes back to, I mean, we were talking off air. I feel like we've gone back 3 or 4 years back to when DeVito was under center, and they were just throwing 4 verts and, you know, closing their eyes and trying to throw it before the defense gets right in his face to sack him. It's mind-boggling how different this offense looks. And again, I don't know how much is on Del Rio Wilson, because he looks the part. He's got the potential there. But, man, the play calling has just changed dramatically. I mean,
what was the Schrader injury? What is he out?
It's a lower body.
Yeah, it was a lower body.
Is he back next week?
We don't know yet.
I mean, he was questionable going in. People thought he might, and then he wasn't even dressed for the game. So, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's, you know, you hope he's back next week. I went into this game thinking that Del Rio Wilson is the future at quarterback, and just the way they used him, like, you have a guy that's probably just as quick, if not quicker than Schrader. He's not the big, strong guy that can put his shoulder down like Schrader, but he can move. And there was no runs. There was no design quarterback runs. No getting out of the pocket. It was handoff up the middle, you know, to your speed back up the middle, and then you chuck it up deep and hope somebody comes down with it. It was disappointing.
He was bad. Del Rio was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you have one of the best backs in college football.
Yeah.
Even when you have Schrader in there, if they don't give it to him 30 to 40 times a game.
Well, if you look at some of these teams, like I looked at Texas's box score from yesterday, and they got arguably one of the top quarterbacks in the country in Quinn Ewers. They're back 33 carries, 203 yards, because they get it. Like, you got to put the ball in the playmaker's hand, and like, Tucker's got to get the ball 25 times a game. And again, you could throw him the ball 10 times. That's fine. You know, run screens, run those little quick dump-off passes. The ball's got to get in his hands out in space and let him make one guy miss and see what happens.
You guys aren't going to like when I tell you this.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. He's been waiting. Here's the thing.
No,
he's been waiting all season.
Nope.
To say something like this.
No, I'm disappointed because I think Syracuse had a legit shot to finish with a really, and they still might. They still should beat Boston College. Now I will say they should be able to play and beat Wake Forest.
Yep.
So they still got a good season in front of them, but they've been bad.
Yeah.
The last couple weeks.
Well,
and here's what I was going to say. If I think that if Tucker doesn't go to the NFL, I would transfer.
I agree.
Yeah, I would too.
I wouldn't stay.
Yeah.
Seriously, I would go somewhere.
Well,
now I'm looking at Michigan, and Michigan's one of the teams that like to run the football.
Yep.
287 yards rushing. They're one of the top rushing teams. Quarterback was okay. Not same thing with it was last year with Michigan, the quarterback, right? They just, let's run the football, let's play defense, let's manage the game. Can you imagine him on a Michigan offense?
Well, to me, I'm thinking, Illinois.
Or Illinois.
You know DeVito.
Yep.
You see the success that he's having, and they're running the football. Their running backs leading the country. Well, he was up until this week, but he was leading the country.
Yeah.
Go to a team that's going to actually use you.
I think Syracuse has hurt him this year.
Going
to the NFL.
1,000%. I think he shows glimpses. And again, if you look at his usage early on, and some of it might be Syracuse is beat up. Let's not forget that Syracuse is absolutely beat up, and Tucker's been hurt multiple times this year.
Exactly.
But if you look at his usage early on, he was getting touches nonstop. He was getting 6-7. He was only rushing for 80 yards, but he caught 6-7 passes for another 80. He was getting little wheel route. Like the usage, like they're just ignoring him now.
So he has 777 yards right now on 155 carries.
Yeah.
He's averaging 5 yards a carry, but again, if I'm him and I'm Syracuse right now, I'm worried, man, because I think there's a real good shot that he's gone at the end of this year. Whether he goes to the NFL or not, he's not in a Syracuse uniform next year.
No.
I don't see it.
No, and that's the disappointing part because, again, he's your best playmaker. He's the guy that's your home run threat every time he touches the ball. You put him at receiver. Like early on, they were going 5 wide, and he was out there, and they were wide receiver screen. Like they were using him, and just in the last, I'd say 2 weeks, because I thought the Clemson game, they tried for a little bit, but I think it's a done deal. I think he's gone. I think, like you said, if he's not in the NFL, and his NFL stock has gone way down. You were talking a top 5 guy in the country early on, and he's not even averaging 100 yards now. It's just, I feel bad for the guy.
So 6-3. You get a Florida State team coming off a win over Miami, which they looked good. But, man, I'll tell you, Miami and Mario Cristobal, man, that team, I know he's a good recruiter. He'll get kids in there. Josh Gaddis, man, to leave Michigan and go there to be the OC, they've looked horrible on offense. So they're going to get a Florida State team that's going to be coming off a really good win for them, and that in-state rivalry game. It's going to be a night game. So my question would be this. Let's say Syracuse ends up 6-5, that 7-5 range. Is it a good year for them after how they started?
No. Big picture, it's a decent year. If you told us 7-5 before the year,
oh yeah.
You guys all picked them to go 4-8 and 5-7, and I was kind of the
I
outlier.
Said 7-5.
Well, I said 5-7. 5-7 is really 6-6.
It's not because
no,
6-6 gets you in a bowl, and 5-7 doesn't.
I know, but you're talking a couple games where it's like, okay.
But
I'm just going to pick the other one.
We've been
Syracuse
saying for the last couple years, Syracuse goes into every year with 3 or 4 wins on their schedule in 5 or 6 games that can go either way. The NC States, the Wake Forest, the Pitt, BC, right now Florida State, Duke. These are all games that Syracuse goes in saying this is going to be a 1-score game. It's going to go one way or the other. And early on, Syracuse was winning games, but the Dino effect and the mismanaging of the clock and not knowing when to take points and calling timeouts and taking points off at some point you gotta figure out what you want this program to be. And you look at teams like Wisconsin who fire Paul Chryst, and his record was 68-24.
Ridiculous
and
record.
we got Dino Babers who, is losing games left and right on management. And again, should he beat Clemson? Realistically, Clemson should beat us every time. Notre Dame should beat us every time. But when you have shots to beat them and you're taking points off the board and then calling, it's just crazy.
Well,
he's done.
This was a down Pittsburgh team. This
100%.
This wasn't the Pittsburgh teams of old. This was a down Pittsburgh team that you looked bad to.
But you're still playing them in Pittsburgh too, and where you haven't won in 9 straight games.
But again, I go back to you have Servassier Dennis who's playing in your backyard. He's a CBA kid, and you won't look at the local talent.
Never does.
You won't look at the local talent. And now this is the second or third time he's dominated Syracuse in a Pitt jersey. There's so many little things that this guy has done wrong. And yes, his hiring of a new offensive coordinator and quarterback coach early on saved his job. But at some point, there's got to be like a big picture here and say, all right, so let's figure out why we're winning games right now. Is it because of Dino? Yes, he brought him in, but this guy won us some games, and now everyone's catching up. We have an undersized line. Whose fault is that? It's the guy that's recruiting and bringing those guys in. So, you have a special talent and you don't use them, if they're not calling the plays as the head coach, you go down there and you say, we got to get Tucker the ball, man. Mm-hmm. We got to get Tucker the ball or else I'm going to take over and I'm going to start calling plays.
Well, we're good.
Radio 1450.
We got to go to a break here. When we come back, we'll get into some Georgia, Tennessee. We'll get into the LSU game last night against Alabama. The win last night for Brian Kelly knocks probably Nick Saban out of the playoff and knocks him out of the SEC title game for, first time in a long time. So that and more. And also we'll talk to the West Genny head coach, Joe Corley, right after the break. We'll be right back.
Wind and solar energy in the future. The powerful coal state lawmaker says Biden's words at a campaign stop in California, quote, ignore the severe economic pain for people from higher energy prices and are why Americans are, in his words, losing trust in President Biden. Residents in southeastern Oklahoma and northeastern Texas cleaning up in the wake of devastating tornadoes that came through the region and killed 2 people last week. And the Houston Astros have clinched their second World Series title in 6 seasons with a 4-1 win over the Philadelphia Phillies in Game 6 last night. This is SRN News.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. Watching your hard-earned dollars fly out the window on healthcare costs is frustrating. Well, here's something that can really help, and it's worth taking a minute to look into. MediShare 65 Plus. MediShare is a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it really is a community, too. People encourage and pray for each other. Well, MediShare 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. It's a great way to fight inflation, too. You can lock in one low monthly price for up to 10 years. And it's easy. You can use any Medicare-approved doctor or get 24/7 telehealth access from the comfort of your home. Very worth looking into during Medicare open enrollment, which ends December 7th. If you join right now, your second month share will be free. So don't miss this chance. Call 833-SHARE-55. That's 833-SHARE-55. 833-SHARE-55.
The current temperature, 70 degrees.
SRN Sports, I'm Ron DeRoster. Let's check what's on the ice. Yesterday was Detroit shutting out the Islanders 3-0. Colorado sweeps their 2-game series with the Blue Jackets in Finland 5-1. Arturi Lenkinen splitting the pipes in his home country. Winnipeg with a clean sheet against the Blackhawks 4-0. Collar Hellebuck stopping 30 shots for his second shutout of the season and 30th of his career. Dallas beats Edmonton 6-2. Jamie Benn scoring 3 goals for his 7th career hat trick. Alex Ovechkin scored his 787th career goal to break Gordie Howe's record for scoring with one team, but Arizona scored 3 times in the third period. Coyotes beat the Caps 3-2. Maple Leafs 2-1 over the Bruins. Lightning 5-3 over the Sabres. Flyers beat the Senators 2-1. Claude Giroux scoring his 300th career goal. He has now scored a goal against every team in the NHL. This is SRN Sports. Continuing on the ice, the Kraken send the Penguins to their 7th straight loss 3-2. Sidney Crosby with a goal in his 900th career assist. Vegas beats the Canadiens 5-4 for their 7th straight win. Predators down the Canucks 4-3 in a shootout. Devils 4-3 over the Flames in overtime. Ducks beat the Sharks 5-4. Adam Henrique scoring the tying goal late in the third period, then gets the deciding tally in the shootout. And the Kings beat the Panthers 5-4. College football, number 1 ranked Georgia beats number 2 Tennessee 27-13. Second ranked Ohio State beat Northwestern 21-7. 4th ranked Michigan routs Rutgers 52-17. It was 15th ranked LSU edging Alabama 32-21 in Baton Rouge. 8th ranked Oregon notching their 8th straight win 49-10 over Colorado. Bo Nix throwing 2 touchdowns, running for 2, and also catching an 18-yard pass for a touchdown. SRN Sports.
This Atmos weather report is being brought to you by Summit Technology Group. Summit Technology Group provides advanced technical solutions to the ever-evolving broadcast industry. More information is available online at summittechgroup.com.
Your area conditions, currently 36 degrees in Rome. Here is your WKAL 1450 AM 103.3 FM Utica Rome Metro weather forecast for Monday, the 31st day of October. I'm meteorologist Charles Dixon. Mostly cloudy in Rome, and good morning to listeners in Oneida, where it is currently mostly cloudy and 40 degrees. Getting down to 36 overnight tonight. Tuesday's high will be in the low 60s. Variably cloudy with a shower. Temperatures in the low 60s on Wednesday. Mostly sunny and mild, mostly sunny and warm. I'm meteorologist Charles Dixon on 1450 AM 103.3 FM. WKAL, more stimulating talk radio.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-607-0665. 800-607-0665. 800-607-0665. That's 800-607-0665.
This is Coach Big C, and you're listening to the Mohawk Valley Sportswatch on WKAL 1450. Welcome back to the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch. Thanks for making us part of your Sunday morning here. We're going to go right to the phone lines because I got Coach Corley on the line, so let's go to him now. Coach, how are you?
Good, Rock.
Well, listen, man, I was just telling the guys in here, they may throw me off the air having a Syracuse guy on the radio this morning.
Listen, man, I'm still a Rome guy.
No, hey, man, you'll always be a Rome guy, and I'll have you on anytime.
All right, man, sounds good.
So, hey, talk to us a little bit about this season. You guys have been playing some really, really good football here down the stretch, and, you know, you're always talking about playing your best ball late in the season, and you guys are doing that.
Yeah, well, our schedule was kind of front-loaded. We played to me, the best three teams in our schedule were our first three games, and I wouldn't say we struggled, but we finished 1-2. We learned a lot, and we really turned the corner after our second loss, and have just gotten better, progressively since the season's gone on, and here we are peaking at the right time, which is what you want.
And Coach, I'll say that Class A this year, when you talk about those front three teams there with FM and, you know, Whitesboro, New Hartford, and you guys, what a tough schedule to start.
Brutal, just brutal. I mean, opening up with on the road at Whitesboro, at New Hartford, at FM, it was brutal. But I think that's what kind of got us where we are. Our guys were tested early on, and we stumbled a bit, but we learned a lot from those two games.
So you guys have the win over Whitesboro, which, you guys had that game, the opening game, which you guys had that shot to beat them the first week of the season. You get them this time, and now you're going up against FM for a second time. What's the game plan? What do you got to do to beat them this time?
Keep it simple. We know what we got to do. They run the ball very well. They run a lot of formations, a lot of window dressing. So we're just going to run our defense and key on the right guys. Offensively, the things we've been doing. There's a lot of things defensively that they're kind of giving us, so we're going to try and take advantage of those things. But really just stay the course and do what we've been doing these last 5-6 weeks.
Well, Coach, you got a nice 1-2 punch in the backfield with your senior quarterback, Vincent, and then you have Francisco at running back, the junior. Talk to us about how special those two guys are.
Well, how do you defend them? I mean, you can zero in on one or the other, and the other one's just going to run free. And then, we also have 4 or 5 receivers that can make plays all on the field. So, I mean, in terms of the weapons we have and the options, we're really tough to defend if we're on point. And,
Coach, how does this year's team differentiate a little bit from the last couple of years? And, you've been to the sectional finals before. You've won this thing. What's the difference with this team compared to some of your other teams?
I wouldn't say there's really much difference. This team is very determined. I wasn't at the SM game. I had COVID that game. But, I was watching it on NFHS in my home office. And just when I got back with the kids that following Monday, there was just a different mentality. It was kind of like enough. We've been close for long enough. We were close last year. We were close, 2 of our first 3 games. Close isn't good enough. And that was really just kind of an attitude shift for our guys.
Coach, I know obviously we all had that relationship with Coach Mize and being a lineman. I know your relationship was a lot different than mine, but I mean we all love the guy. What were some things that you take away from playing under Coach, and do you use any of those philosophies today in coaching?
Blue collar work ethic is what it was all about with Coach Mize, and that's what I try to pass off on my guys. We're not going to do a lot. We're going to be simple, but we are going to work so hard and so relentless in what we do. And we're going to practice it so much that we can't get it wrong. That's what it came down to with me, what I learned from him.
Yeah, so many life lessons, that's for sure. I think I was more scared of him sometimes than anything, but
yeah, you and me both, right?
But we definitely lost a legend. But listen, Coach, congratulations. We'll be following you. I love following you and the team. Best of luck, and go win that Section 3 title.
Absolutely.
All right, best of luck, Coach. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Rock. Appreciate it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, they've played some good football down the stretch, but, I was looking at their schedule again last night, and as he said, Whitesboro, New Hartford, FM, 1, 2, 3.
All on the road.
All on the road your first 3 weeks. The Whitesboro game, he went for 2, and they didn't get it. You had the New Hartford game that could have went either way. I think they scored.
They scored late.
I think New Hartford was up in that one. And then the FM game, as he just said, he was out with COVID. I can't imagine watching my team play on TV.
No, that's tough.
You'd have to lock me up in a room, leave the house.
Yeah.
I probably would have been throwing stuff at the TV. But then they went on a 7-game win streak.
All of a sudden you see Rock and a Bobby Valentine mustache and glasses sitting on the sideline.
That'd be crazy. I can't even imagine. But anyways, good luck to you, Coach. Thanks for coming on. So guys, let's get back into some college football. I want to talk about that Georgia game, because Georgia is the defending national champions, and that SEC obviously we talk every year is brutal. I still think that Tennessee's win over Bama and now Georgia's win over Tennessee are still probably the 2 best wins in college football, other than now LSU beating Alabama.
Right.
And now LSU, we'll see where they're at. I mean, you might have a case late in the season that maybe a 2-loss LSU finds themselves in. But when you see this thing shake up, I mean, Hendon Hooker probably played the worst game of his career.
Yeah.
Josh Heupel's offense struggled for the first time, I think, since I've seen him coaching, period. We got the phone line. Statman just ran for the hills. So let's go to the phone lines now.
Let's see what we got.
You're on the air with Coach.
Hi, Coach. It's Stefan.
Stefan, welcome back, my friend. How are you?
Well, doing good. I'm not too happy. Houston won the World Series last night.
Well, Stefan, I would say this. Being a Yankee fan, I'm not very happy myself. But I am happy because I don't have to listen to Mr. Pacini talk about how good the NL East is. So that's what I'm going into work tomorrow with a big smile on my face. Plus, you know what? In all honesty, I was happy to see Dusty Baker finally get one.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
So I can live with that.
Yeah, and Syracuse football, I don't know if they showed up yesterday or not.
Well, we were talking about it earlier here on the air, and Syracuse now has dropped 3 in a row. And I was saying, unfortunately, I think at the end of the season, I think Tucker, the running back, either transfers or I think he goes to the NFL. I don't think he stays.
Yeah, if I were him, I'd go elsewhere and try for better.
Stefan, who's your top 4 right now in college football? Who do you like?
I'm going to have to go with Georgia, number 1, Clemson, number 2, Tennessee, number 3, and Michigan's number 4.
Well, I don't have a problem with that. The only one I would say is Clemson ended up losing last night to Notre Dame, so they're probably out. So I think some of the arguments you're going to get now is where does TCU fall? Is TCU in the top 4? How far do they drop Tennessee after the loss last night to Georgia? So we'll see how it all plays out on Tuesday night when they release the college football rankings.
Yes, and I'm hoping that Jacob deGrom stays with the best.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You might get him and you might get Aaron Judge because I'm not sold on the Judge is going to be in pinstripes next year either, but we'll see what happens.
He's going to be in the white and
he's going to be somewhere.
Yes, he may be.
So, Stefan, listen, good to have you back on. Always nice to chat with you, and we'll do it again next week.
Okay, Coach.
All right, enjoy. Have a good weekend.
Bye, Coach.
Yeah, I think the big debate's going to be what do you do with TCU?
Yeah, no,
well,
I agree.
I think, again, it goes back to what the committee is looking for. And last year was quality wins, and this year, where do they feel those quality wins were for TCU? And, all they can do is just keep winning. If they keep winning, we'll see.
The other thing is, too, I think whoever's at 1 at the end of the year is in, even if they lose.
Well, that's the thing. If Georgia's 1 going into the SEC championship, they're in.
So I guess that would go to the argument now is Tennessee was 1.
Yep.
You lose to Georgia
How far
on
do
the
you drop?
road. You drop Tennessee to 4.
Right.
So now you got Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Tennessee. Is TCU at 5, followed by Oregon?
And
or do you put a 2-loss LSU
I was going to
ahead?
say, how much do you value LSU beating Alabama?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a top 3 win this year.
That's the question.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see what the committee values as far as that win over Alabama. And do they say, all right, let's compare, Tennessee's win against Alabama at home to LSU's win and see where it kind of stands.
I was looking last night when I got home. My wife and I were at the casino watching some of these games. And Stetson Bennett.
I don't like it.
How come nobody talks about? I'm not
because
saying
he's
the
a walk-on.
I don't like him.
I know he doesn't have great. He's thrown for 2,600 yards, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's got a quarterback rating of 86. All the kid does is win football games.
Yeah.
How come nobody talks about him?
He's 29 years old.
Well, first off, that is a false statement. He is not 29 years old.
It seems like he's been playing for 100 years, but nobody's talked about
because he
Stetson
doesn't.
Bennett
He
at
doesn't
all.
do the flashy things. He just wins football games. He reminds me of A.J. McCarron when he was at Alabama, and all he did was win, and he just managed the game and did what he was supposed to and did what he was asked. But he was a leader, and he did all those intangible things that goes into winning football games. And I think the kid's a winner. I mean, Tennessee fan. You heard what happened. Tennessee fans got his number and shared it all over social media. So Tennessee was calling his phone all through the night.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
So when he scored his first touchdown, he looked over at the students and went gave the
Really?
whole phone call.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were on him last night.
But
So
man, all he does is win.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was thinking of last night, so a lot of people, you follow all these people on Twitter. So now you say, okay, Alabama's got 2 losses. Nick Saban and Bama's coming down. Is Georgia the new Alabama in the SEC? My wife last night's watching and she goes, oh, I hate Alabama. And it goes back to what we've talked about in here for years. People hate Duke because they win.
Yeah.
Alabama's not going anywhere.
No.
But a 2-loss Alabama team, they're not used to losing games in Alabama. So 2 losses, oh my goodness, Nick Saban can't coach, the team stinks.
Is he going to retire?
Is he going to retire? The guy just signed a 7-year contract extension until he's 80 years old. Yeah. But I will say, is Georgia kind of the next Alabama? That maybe it's Georgia for the next so many years?
I don't think so.
I think we said the same thing about Clemson for a little while. Is Clemson going to overtake Alabama and be the dominant college football program? And then Ohio State has been very dominant the last couple of years. There's always going to be 3 or 4 teams that are head and shoulders above everybody, and that's going to be the fun of the 12-team playoff. Is yes, you're going to have some rough-sided matchups, but at the same time, when you take the 8th or 9th best team and you put them up against 1 or 2 in those early round games, they got a shot, and that's what makes March Madness so much fun. Is if you play this game 10 times, 9 of 10, the better team's going to win. But on that one game, That's what you remember in March Madness.
Well, I'll tell you, when you look at the BCS rankings, the 12 teams, Georgia, Clemson, who Clemson would fall. I don't know if they'd fall out of the 12, but they'll fall. Michigan, Bama, TCU, Oregon, USC, LSU, Ole Miss, UCLA. I don't have a problem with those 12 teams.
No, I don't either.
I think you would say those are the best 12 teams in the country.
Yeah.
Then you have like the K-States, Utah, Penn States, Illinois, North Carolina. So the first 12, I think it's a good playoff with those 12.
Well, I'm trying to. I have a site here that has a projected. This is what the playoff would have looked like. I'm just pulling the site on. It was before this week because it had Tennessee.
So coming into this week.
Coming into this week. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick.
Because I really don't have any arguments against those 12.
Yeah.
So it had TCU as the 5 seed. They would have played Tulane as the number 6, the 6th best conference champion.
Yep.
It had the 6th seed was Michigan, and they would be playing Ole Miss. Alabama as the 7 playing LSU.
Yeah. Okay.
Oregon as the 8 playing USC. And then the winner of that Oregon-USC game would play Tennessee as the 1. The winner of Bama-LSU was playing Ohio State as the 2. The winner of Michigan-Ole Miss gets a nice, easy win against Clemson. And the winner of TCU-Tulane would play Georgia.
Okay, I like that.
I just think look at those second-round matchups, and you could potentially get in these matchups Tennessee against Oregon or USC.
Yep.
Alabama, Ohio State in the quarterfinals is that would be like a dream matchup. Michigan, if you're a Michigan fan, you get a bye week, you play Clemson, and then TCU, Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at all those matchups, and those would be fun.
It would be really hard when you look at those 12 teams. Like now, every year with only 4. We argue and say, well, the what ifs, look at 5 and 6, kind of 7 seed right now is TC. Can they jump in? But when you start expanding this thing to 12.
Well, now you're going to argue who number 13 is and number,
Yeah, but you would have on here, here's the difference. You got a UCLA team at 12.
Right.
Your 13 is Kansas State. Don't even think it's an argument.
Right. Well, you got to remember that in this format, the top 6 conference winners all get in.
Yeah.
So number 12 in the rankings is kind of irrelevant because you're probably only going to 10 because you have like the group of 6, the strongest group of 6, whatever it is, like the American, whoever wins that conference is getting in. So in this case, Tulane, who's number 19 right now or 16, would get in. So that's going to bump somebody else out. And, the ACC winner is going to get in. The Big 12 winner is going to get in.
Yep.
Right now, TCU is number 4. But if TCU was to lose and ended up at like 13, they're dumping out another ranked team.
So if let's say whoever wins the American Conference, they finish 9-3, right?
If they're they take the 6 strongest conferences. So you figure the 5 are a done deal.
Yeah.
And then you take the next best conference, which could be the Mountain West, could be, right now it's American. But like Cincinnati last year would have been an
Give me the MAC.
The MAC will never be in that conversation.
Can you imagine that?
But UC goes undefeated.
But
speaking of, hold on a minute. Speaking of MAC.
Oh man.
I was just looking to see like college football for next week. They play Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday again, all the MAC.
Yeah, well, did you see like a week ago they said 27 straight days of football?
Yeah.
It's because the MAC is on every day. They want MACtion every day.
But I was looking at that saying Tuesday.
Yeah.
How do you get your team ready to play on a Tuesday?
Easy.
Wow. And hey, speaking of, and I'm jumping around a little bit, Herm Edwards back at ESPN.
Yeah, that was quick.
You like that?
That was quick. Yeah, well, you know what was happening. As soon as he got fired, you knew, all right, which network's going to reach out to Herm? Because he's awesome on ESPN. Yeah, he's great on TV.
I watched him, actually, I think it was yesterday. I had watched him. Did College Game Day say where they're going next week yet?
Normally they announce Sunday morning.
Do we know where they're going? Because I'm looking at week 11, top 25 games. And let me just see where I think they could go. You got Washington, Oregon. Washington had a nice
They have not
win.
announced.
They already went to Oregon now, probably.
Let's see.
Doesn't
They're
matter.
not going to Tennessee, Missouri.
They didn't.
Alabama, Ole Miss. At Ole Miss.
That could be.
Bama coming off a loss, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's a top 15 matchup. They're not going to Nebraska, Michigan. That's for sure. UCF, Tulane, at Tulane?
I'll tell you where they would have went if it wasn't for this upset.
Cortland, Ithaca?
Well, they should. I mean, if you're going to Jackson State for a big game, how about the biggest little game in the country?
Well, TCU and Texas are on ABC.
But I would say if Illinois had won, they would have gone to Illinois. It's Illinois-Purdue, not a huge game, but again, it's Illinois. You're trying to build that up a little bit.
I think they're either in Oxford, but that's on CBS.
It doesn't matter. We talked about that before when they went to.
I think maybe they go to Oxford just because of the Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban thing.
UCF at Tulane.
UCF, Tulane. I don't know. That's 1 and 2 in the American Conference.
That's yep.
I got something interesting.
TCU,
here.
Texas.
What do you got?
Kirk Herbstreit posted my top 10 after Wild Week 10.
All right, who's he got?
Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon at 4.
Okay.
Jumping TCU.
Who's he got at 5? TCU?
TCU and then Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah, I would not want to be on the committee for this.
No, it's tough.
I would not want to be on the committee. I'm going to say that they may go to TCU, Texas.
That's
Saturday night.
Yeah, because that's a huge game.
Yeah. Well, it's TCU. The committee has TCU at 5, and now you go to game day at TCU, and you can fire up all those fans. Hey, you need this win. You have to get this win to show a big win and to get back in the top 4. I mean, the reality is we get this argument every year. And then somebody's going to lose, somebody else is going to lose, and it's going to play itself out, and it's going to come down to 2 teams for the 4 or 5 spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they go to Cortland, Ithaca.
Listen, Yankee Stadium.
That's what I mean. I mean, it's a rivalry game. It's at Yankee Stadium. I mean, really, you look across next week, top 20. Okay, TCU, Texas. Texas is 6-3.
Would they go to a D3 game? I don't know.
Well, they went to. Well, I mean, I was going to say they went to Jackson State, but that's Deion.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Deion's a marketing guru for that, but I don't know. We'll see. If I had to pick, I would say they're probably going to Austin for that TCU game.
They'll pick the game.
Plus, I think it's another reason that TCU can get exposure.
Yes.
The primetime game Saturday night. They play well. People say, "Oh, look, they belong in."
Yep.
And I don't disagree with people when they say if you take TCU and put a Clemson name or Oklahoma name on that, they're top 4.
Oh yeah.
And TCU's schedule. I mean, I don't know if you guys have peeked at it, but their schedule. I mean, the Big 12. But they beat Oklahoma when Oklahoma was ranked. They beat a ranked Kansas team. They beat a ranked Oklahoma State team, and they beat a ranked Kansas State team. They've beaten 4 ranked teams this year.
Right.
As much as I love Michigan and I love the Big Ten, the Big Ten schedule has been outside of Notre Dame for Ohio State. Ohio State's played nobody.
Yep.
Outside of Penn State for Michigan now. They're going to play the Fighting Illini, which I thought would be another ranked game. We'll see if they're still ranked. But the Big Ten hasn't played anybody outside of Penn State. So the Big Ten schedule is down. TCU's beaten 4 ranked teams.
Well, I think it's interesting to see how the committee values those wins because they beat 4 ranked teams, but if you look at Oklahoma, they're nowhere near ranked right now.
No.
Kansas is on the outside looking in right now. Kansas State's going to be bounced out of the top 25. So, I mean, yes, they did, but, I mean, are we looking back and saying, all right, Oklahoma was highly overrated at that point?
They have a really good chance, though. They go at Texas, at Baylor, which won't be an easy game.
No, that's
they
tough.
Finish against Iowa State. They could be 10-0.
They could. They could.
They could be 10-0.
I think they'll lose one of those games. I really do.
And then you'd have to figure they go, the two top teams in the Big 12 play each other?
Yeah.
So right now, who do you got? You got TCU. I'm just looking. TCU, in Texas. Texas is 4-2 in conference, and so is Baylor. So you might play the same 2 teams again.
Well, let's assume they beat Baylor and they beat Texas. Is there any 3 lost teams? I mean, Oklahoma State's lost 3 in a row. So I mean, you could put them in the discussion as well.
I mean, they're in because even if they lose the next 2 games, Texas has 2 losses. They're in second place. Baylor's got 2 losses. Kansas State's got 2 losses. So they're going to play Baylor. So they're probably in the Big 12 title game against a team that they're going to play again. Wow. So we'll see. But all right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll switch gears. We'll talk to Scott Petoniak. We'll talk some Bills football. We'll talk some more Syracuse football with Scott right after the break. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch on WKAL Talk Radio 1450.
I want to get my girl some diamond earrings, but I don't know the first thing about diamonds.
I was pretty clueless too, but I got Sue's engagement ring at Engelbert's Jewelers. They're the diamond authority. They helped me every step of the way.
At Engelbert's Jewelers, we can answer every question you have and help you with this most special gift from your heart. In business over 100 years.
Talk Radio 1450 AM, 103.3 FM, WKAL, Rome, Utica, Syracuse, New York.
The time is